Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. Well, the big news last week in Oklahoma was all the terroristic bomb threats levied against Union Public Schools over 4 days. And it took 4 days for any Republican anywhere in the legislature, anywhere in leadership whatsoever in Oklahoma to come out and say anything about it. So, over the course of 4 days, we've had bomb threats called in to the Union Public School District. Why? Well, they've been sending emails to local stations there saying, hey, bombs have been placed at a librarian's home and an elementary school, and that went on for 2 days. And then after that, it was some other administrative buildings and whatnot. And then on the Friday, after everything came out, now they've said that they're going to put bombs in Superintendent Walter's home, as well as the librarian, as well as Dr. Gist, who resigned, and as well as the Union Public School District. Well, no one said anything on the Republican side, the conservative side of the aisle here in Oklahoma, for 4 days. Now, Democrats, progressives, and liberals in this state were already talking about it from day one. Hey, what's going on? This is because of Ryan Walter's rhetoric. And what happened? Why are we getting all these bomb threats? Well, it has to do with Ryan Walter's rhetoric. The war on woke. And what's woke? Well, those be the liberals. And who are the liberals? Well, those are the registered Democrats. See, it's a war on Democrats. It's a war on those who go down and check the box for D on their voter registration. That's what this is. Walters wants to get rid of them. He wants to make their lives really hard. He wants to take their wealth, their assets, make sure they don't have jobs or businesses. That's what it's all about. You can see it with Ron DeSantis going after regular people for just being affiliated to the political party they want to be affiliated with. This is the same thing here. So what happens is a librarian for an elementary school in Union School District, which is just southeast of Tulsa, this librarian put out a TikTok video. Well, it was a funny video, a parody on all the wokeness, and she's obviously not a Ryan Walters fan. Well, what happened was a TikTok group called the Libs of TikTok took the video, cut it up, put it all out of context, and said, hey, look, the wokeness, it's real, and we got to stop it, and everything else, and how vile this librarian was for putting out a funny TikTok video, and then they just totally edited it out of context, made it look as bad as they possibly could, and fomented violence against Union Public Schools. Now, here's a weird thing. Libs at TikTok haven't said anything about this. They're the ones who totally incited this, and yet they haven't said a thing. This is what they want. It's getting them the attention they need, no matter who gets hurt in the process. It's exactly what fuels their fire. And so what happens is, Ryan Walters, who are friends with the Libs at TikTok, takes their video and reposts it. When Ryan Walters reposted that video, he's inciting people to violence. That's exactly what he did. He doesn't own it. He doesn't want to own it. So anything else, so they don't say anything for 4 days. Conservatives, Republicans in our state say nothing for 4 days. So what happens? On the 4th day, the people or the person making these bomb threats say now they're going to go after Superintendent Ryan Walters. Now I see this as a ploy, because we obviously know the people making these threats are not liberals, they're not Democrats, they're obviously conservatives, radical extremists, who are Republicans more than likely. They're definitely conservatives, they're definitely being terrorists. And that's what we have here. So this isn't a both sides thing. And I bring that up because of what was being said afterwards. You see, because now the bomb person is obviously keeping up with the news, and they know that they're really attacking Ryan over this really hard, and the right, for their extremism and their terrorism. So now they want to go after Superintendent Ryan Walters to make it seem like it's not a partisan thing. You see, we're going after all of them, no matter what their political affiliation, which is kind of bunk, right? It kind of waters it down. And that's what we get when we see the reaction from the Republicans in our state. What did they say? Well, you know, as soon as Ryan Walters gets bomb threats, then he cares. That's when Ryan Walters started to care, put out a statement, hey, you know, these threats against officials are reprehensible, they shouldn't happen, I disagree with it, this is not the way to do business, but he doesn't really apologize. He doesn't really say anything about who these threats are, or where they're levied against, or how they came about. Just that he just totally disagrees with it, and that he's going to focus on making sure our kids get the education they need, so let's just forget about it. I think the most cowardly one I saw was from our House Speaker, Chuck McCall. Well, Chuck puts out a message that says, hey, these bomb threats are reprehensible. Law enforcement needs to come down on them to their fullest effect and everything else. And the second thing he wants to talk about is the rhetoric. We all need to bring down the rhetoric. All of us. See, it's not just the conservatives. It's the liberals too. They're trying to politicize the classroom, and everybody needs to stop politicizing the classroom. That's where he went. He went like, this is really the Democrats' fault. You know, because they want to fight back. Because really, Democrats didn't start this. They didn't start any culture war. This is something that's been perceived and invented by the right, by people like Ryan Walters, who are going after the wokeness, going after people's certifications and everything else for nothing more than expressing their First Amendment rights. That's it. So, which is interesting, because one of the things that came up in the meeting was Summer Boismeier. You remember her. She's the teacher down in Norman that got fired and investigated by the State Board of Education. They were coming for a license. He's going to take her license, by God. Well, guess what happened? They didn't take her license. They decided in this whole thing that she didn't violate anything. She has a First Amendment right. And nothing she did was against policy. So therefore, she gets to keep her teaching license. So there's a loss for Ryan Walters right there. And something that people may not know, Summer Boismeier actually gets to keep her teaching certificate here in Oklahoma, even though she's not coming back. And I don't blame her, because you have right-wing extremists, terrorists, who want to do her harm, you see. That's why she won't come back here. So we lost a good teacher because of Ryan Walters and his rhetoric, fomenting energy and anxiety against his followers, who then go out and manifest that into reality by making bomb threats, making physical threats against people. These are your conservative values today. I don't care what Charles McCall says. It's not both sides. It's not everyone's rhetoric. It's one side doing this. One side's making the bomb threats. One side is taking a TikTok video out of context and telling people to be outraged to the point of making violent threats. That's not both sides. That's one side doing it. These are conservative extremists. These are conservative terrorists. That's exactly what they are when they want to email in bomb threats to news stations saying, hey, until the wokeness is gone, we're going to call in bomb threats every single day. So yeah, I guess we ought to feel nice that they at least came out 4 days later and at least acknowledged that bomb threats were happening. But the way Chuck McCall makes it sound is like, well, you ought to just play kumbaya with everybody, and everybody needs to lower their rhetoric. You know, no, man. He's the one who started this. We're going to defend ourselves. We're going to stand up to this. We're going to stand up to the lies. We're going to stand up to the propaganda, and we're going to tell it like it is. I'm going to still do this, and I'm going to defend it. And that's just how that is. And if Chuck McCall can't stand it, well, then maybe he needs to talk to people in his own movement. That's how that's going to work. So we got all these statements. So finally, after 4 days, they decide to come out. And you know this is organized, okay? You know this is organized. For a few days, the caucus over at the legislature had to have gotten together and say, hey guys, let's not say anything until we get a good defined message. What's that good defined message? Oh, well, we need to water this down because it makes it look like conservatives are a bunch of dang terrorists. Yeah, they do. So I think one of the best ones put out, though, was probably by the Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor puts out a post saying, hey, you know, we don't want to do this. I talked to the schools, told them that, you know, any resources I can give them, we want law enforcement in this, whoever it is, and everything else. But we need to stop this violent rhetoric and everything else that's coming out, reposting stuff. He at least acknowledged that, but the way he said it, though, you see, and this is what goes in. And this is, you know, because now I've seen 3 or 4 posts where they're talking about the violent rhetoric. this rhetoric here, the threats. Well, it's not just violent rhetoric. This is terrorism. That's what he doesn't want to call it. He doesn't want to call it what it is. Calling in bomb threats to schools where kids are at, under 10, well, that's terrorism. And honestly, these are conservative values. You see, conservative values say, I'm on the top tier as a conservative in our tiered constitutional system, and I can make bomb threats to schools to get my political will done. See, I'm not going to do it at the voting booth. I'm not going to call my legislator. I'm not going to get on Ryan Walter's side. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to take it on myself to make political change by making physical threats against a school district, against an elementary school where most of the people in that school are under 10. This is where conservatives are today. These are their values. Terroristic threats. Absolutely. It's what they're doing. I guarantee you, when it all comes out, when it comes said and done, the person or people responsible for all of this are conservatives. When you're saying we got to get rid of the wokeness, that's a conservative. When you're saying all this other stuff that's just pie in the sky, fantasyland stuff that a Democrat wouldn't believe or support, and it's a conservative. It's not both sides going on here. It just isn't. So that's what we have this week in Oklahoma. People calling in bomb threats to schools, chaos going on in our education system, and conservative Republican leaders waiting a full 4 days before they'll even say anything about it. Well, this is Across the Desk, and we'll see you guys next week.